Alright guys, so we're just welding underneath. Got the brackets all welded up. We got the 3-on-3 off, all marked out and welded. We ended up taking the ones next to the spring pocket and going off of those. Just because they're riveted by the spring pocket and they're not welded at all. Kind of see right there how they're not welded at all. So we got the underside cleaned up, the undercarriage. We're gonna go ahead and weld this one in, finish up the hump plate welding, and the rear bumper bracket welding. And then when we flip, then we'll do that ball joint, flip this thing back over, and give her another top pass on the bumper bracket with the hard wire, or with the it's called the dual shield wire. It's got a lot higher tensile strength. And then I don't know a bunch about GMs, but I do know there's a bunch of variations. So like on this car, it's kind of hard to see with the bumper on it now, but there's two different frame rails. There's an inner and an outer. And the inner one is a thick. You can kind of see there on how thick that is. And then the outside rail is a medium. And they come in thick, medium, and thin. And there's a bunch of variations on how they come. This passenger rail is medium on medium. Kind of see. So, I'm not sure exactly how you figure out these variations other than just looking at the car. I don't know if they vary back here or whatnot. Supposedly there's thousands of variations, but I did see somebody in the comments saying something, how do you tell the frames apart? And I look at that bottom hole on both sides. We did have a choice between this car and a two-door Buick, but the two-door Buick was a thin on medium on the passenger side and a thin on thick on the driver's side. So we chose the thicker frame. So now we're going to move on, weld the rear brackets, rear hump plates, ball joint, and then replace this ball joint. I'm going to get everything leveled out so I can take a few measurements to make sure that it stays in the same spot. It should, but I just want to, be cautious and make sure that it does. So we'll see how that goes, and I'll show you how it turns out. Alright guys, so we got all the welding done underneath. We got the ball joint rings welded in. We got that one changed out. So now what we're going to do is fix the control arms. I got to tighten up that one nut that I loosened up to get the lowers in, or the springs in. Bottom of humps are welded. That took forever. Had to fill all in that. And we're going to loosen up these control arms because I imagine they're not going to be fun. Throw these tires back on. And then when we pull this thing in, I'm going to configure a way to keep the tires straight. Put this thing in backwards. And get the postal put in. But all the underneath welding's done. I do have to weld the top side of that ball joint, but that won't be that bad. Yeah, just kind of looking while I'm videoing, making sure everything is welded good underneath so I don't have to come back under here. We got the holes blowed out to fit a 3/4 inch socket. We'll slide the plate through here to bolt that extra body mount. We got all the underneath welding done here, all done here. So we're looking good. I did get verified that this is okay. At least in the rules, how it reads, totally justifies having all thread up through the spring pocket to the middle of the upper A-arm with a 3-inch washer on both sides. Yeah, so I think we are all done under here. We're going to loosen up that real quick, get this thing pulled out, flipped around, get this other rear end stuffed in it so we can start on the body work tomorrow. Hopefully. Should be able to. So there's that, and I will show you guys once we get the rear end in. So hopefully next time you see this thing, the rear end is in, and that means the frame is done. I do have to weld up our our body pucks and just put some tacks on them so they don't move on install. So see what we can do. All right, guys, so we got the frame flip back around. We're looking good. Looks like that ball joint that we replaced, everything went back perfect. Getting this rear end out. I just do everything without a jack, or without a forklift, I mean. Getting this thing out of here. Basically just get it evened up, and then you can get the rails high enough that you can just slide this thing right out under and open up the garage and shove it out, and we're going to bring the new one in. All right, guys, so ended up getting a set of the postal upper ear grommets so we can install the uppers. Got a new bottle of gas because it ran out of wire and gas yesterday. So we're gonna weld those up and get them installed, get some all thread in it, get it sucked down to 14 inches, and then go through, tack all the body mounts, and see how far we get. Hopefully we get a body, at least we'll get a body started on today. Not sure if I'm gonna set it on yet, but we'll see where we get. All right, guys, so we're all done with the frame. We got our we got all of our seam welding done, top and bottom. Our ball joints are welded in all the way. All the body mounts are tacked. Rear end is all the way in. Rear is set at 14 inches. All the bolts are tight for the rear end. We got our pinion angle set nice, about a 3 or 4% is what we like. We're gonna cut these back holes when we're done, or once we get the body set on and all the rest of the body mounts in, we'll put those in. We got our extra body mount going through this existing hole, and they're just welded on this thing is just welded up in the inside of it. But they're all tacked, all threads set, bumper height is good. And so we're gonna pull this frame out, clean up a little bit, and get some progress done on the trunk, get the creasing started so we can turn it upside down, fold the bottoms under. So we will see how it goes. Everything's been approved through Chris on this car. I keep in tight contact with the techs just because I don't like to have customers or myself be cutting on cars all day. Rather just, there's obviously always going to be little stuff, but for the most part, this frame is 100% done, 100% legit, legal, and everything's been ran through Chris. But we're gonna get this frame out and the body in, so I'll be certain to show you guys that once we get her started. Thanks for following along. All right, guys, so we got the body pulled in. We got the clip off. Super clean car. So we're gonna start working on the trunk. After looking at the car, we're not going to cut the speaker deck out. I don't believe. We're just gonna canoe it as part of it. So you can see I've got lines. We're gonna do one crease line here, one following this original body line, and then this is where it'll be folded up under, so it'll only be, you know, yay tall. And once we get it started creased, we'll cut all this out and suck it way in and see where we get. All right, guys, so we're just working on getting the trunk sucked in. So what we did, we started off with a ball peen and a hammer, made our crease line. So we have one here, we'll have one here, and then that bottom piece will get folded up where there used to be a mark, but right through here will get folded under. So we're just beating all this in. Just using, this back piece is just chained to a piece of pipe just to help keep the backside pulling in. We're just about there. All we did was a couple of relief cuts just so that it would 90 up in the trunk. Then we've got this side looking the same. And you can probably see this mark a little better on where you won't be able to see from here down. It'll be all folded under. We just want to keep this under pressure. And then I want to flip it upside down, but I'm going to try to just jack the body up and get it without flipping it upside down. Because we don't do any welding with the flaps, we just run body bolts through it. So we got to go a little bit further on each side. This side's a little bit further along than this side because I was just hammering on it, but you can see the wheel well just gets beaten up in there. So we'll see how it goes. All right, guys, so we're getting the quarters folded up under. I decided not to flip the body upside down on this one. Quarters are going under there good. So I'm gonna go ahead and blow this body mount hole out. Those two are already done, and blow these back four ones out. And pull this thing out and set it on the body. I think we are pretty damn close. I'm gonna get a little hammer and beat that up under there so it's tighter, and then we'll set her there. It's looking pretty good. I mean, it is hard to get it in perspective on how far in this thing's sucked in, but that's looking straight down the car. I mean, the trunk used to be out in here, so it's working out good. We are gonna keep the speaker deck in, so we're gonna get everything tied down tight, nice, and, you know, get our fender bolts in. We gotta make sure that we don't have to curl that. We might have to cut it or curl it. I'm not sure which one you'd rather do. But we're going to get this body set on here today. I don't have a ton of time to talk, so I'm just gonna put the rest of the frame video in with this one. And I mean, it's gonna look pretty freaking decent, I think. This is the first time I've done a canoed trunk this way, with crease lines and stuff, so it's all new to me. I tried it with the South Dakota Caddy, but we only had folded the ribs in or whatever. So this one is as legit as it gets. This is all with a freaking chain come along and a hammer, wherever it went, the big hammer. and a lot of pounding. So, I mean, you can see just how much it sucked these in. We'll fix that up when we get the door strapped, but I don't want to strap doors till we get a cage in. So we're gonna keep going with this, beating up under those quarter panels, and then blow our body mount holes out, and then set it on the frame and put it back inside. So stay tuned. All right, guys, so we got the body setting on here. We got to do a little bit of work on this side. Side was a little bit rusty, so we got to beat that little part in so it'll set all the way down. And then we cut it off pretty damn good. We didn't cut it off too short, so that's good. But this is what it looks like. This is, like I said before, just to come along with with two pieces. It's just a pipe with a piece of all thread and a nut with a D-ring type style, pulling in and beating with a hammer. So you can see how that gets, and this is the exact reason why I tack all these body mounts in. Keeps everything nice. So once we get the body mounts on, then we'll continue to beat this in, square it all up, get it all pretty on the sides. But this is definitely very cool to see it working out very good, because I was kind of skeptical, but I think we got it. We're getting it figured out, so the next one should even be better. So this one should turn out really nice. You can see the insides. Got a nice crease line going off the side. And the wheel well, I mean, that's beat past where it used to be. That thing is clear over there. So we'll get some bolts in the morning, get everything bolted down nice and tight. We are going to leave the firewall bolts alone for now, but the other ones we are going to put all the way in. And we're going to start with these two up here, because they should be lined up perfect, and these ones right here should be lined up perfect, and these mid ones. These ones, sometimes they move just a touch. I don't use a jig. I just kind of watch for floor movement. So like this floor moved just a touch, but I don't think it'll be that big a deal. So we're gonna get this thing sucked all the way down. And yeah, I think it's coming along really nicely. Like I said, first time I've done a trunk with crease lines that's been sucked over the quarters. And we'll, clean up all that with an air hammer when we get the trunk lid on, which is right there. So let me know what you guys think.